The train rumbled through the darkness of a Texas night, carrying men who believed they knew exactly what awaited them. Fairmont's sword-clasped bureaucrat pressed his face against the window, expecting to see the America that Joseph Goebbels had promised. Cities dark under blackout, factories silent, a nation on its knees. Instead, at 2 a.m. he saw electric lights. Not just a few thousands of them, illuminating streets, homes, even farms in the distance. His fellow prisoners stirred, confusion spreading through the car like a virus. Say Algernon's in, someone muttered. They're lying to us. But how do you fake an entire electrified countryside? When the train pulled into Camp Mexia at dawn on June 4th, 1943, the cognitive dissonance only deepened. The journey itself had been the first lesson. They'd traveled in standard American passenger coaches, comfortable seats, some even air-conditioned. The tracks were smooth, the locomotives powerful, the speed consistent. Nothing like the deteriorating rail system they'd left behind in Europe. At the camp gate, a young SS indoctrinated officer named Werner Krauss would later write in his diary, I expected a prison. I have found something I cannot explain. Barbed wire, yes, but also flush toilets, hot showers, and 3 meals that would feed a German family for a week. This wasn't the broken America they'd been promised. This was something that shouldn't exist, a nation fighting the most expensive war in history on 2 fronts, while its prisoners ate better than its enemies' citizens. The real assault on their worldview began when POW labor programs started that fall. Thousands were transported to work sites across America, and the journey itself became an involuntary education in industrial supremacy. At Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia, German naval officers counted warships like a child counts stars and gave up. Battleships, aircraft carriers, destroyers lined the harbor in numbers that exceeded intelligence estimates of the entire American fleet. But these ships were just maintenance backlog. The real fleet was at sea fighting. Das ist unmöglich, a former U-boat commander whispered, staring at the forest of masts. This is impossible. Further west, POWs assigned to war production witnessed something more terrifying than any weapon Ford's Willow Run plant. Inside a single factory building so massive it had its own weather system, a complete B-24 Liberator bomber rolled off the assembly line every 63 minutes. Not 63 hours. Not 63 days. 63 minutes. Heinrich Müller, a Messerschmitt factory worker before the war, did the math and nearly vomited. At this rate, he calculated, they build more bombers in a month than we build in a year. The propaganda had always claimed German engineering superiority. But watching American workers, including women, which German industry considered unthinkable, assemble complex aircraft with mechanical efficiency, that claim evaporated like morning dew. And everywhere the wealth. POWs working in agricultural areas saw farmers using tractors that would be considered military-grade equipment in Germany. Rural electrification had reached even isolated farmhouses. Store windows displayed consumer goods in abundance. Private automobiles clogged the streets, millions of them burning fuel that was supposedly in short supply. One prisoner, observing an American farmer casually discard half-eaten food, wrote, "They threw away more than we ever had." Life in the camps completed what observation had started. The Geneva Convention mandated humane treatment. America exceeded it by such a margin that it became psychological warfare. Medical care was the first crack for many. Penicillin, the miracle drug that could cure infections that killed thousands on the Eastern Front, was administered freely. American military doctors treated German prisoners with the same professionalism they showed their own soldiers. Men who'd been told that subhuman Americans would brutalize them found themselves receiving world-class healthcare. The food haunted them most. Breakfast, eggs, bacon, bread, coffee, orange juice. Lunch, meat, potatoes, vegetables, milk. Dinner, more of the same. The official U.S. Army ration designed for soldiers applied to prisoners provided more calories than German civilians had seen in years. Fairmont Sergeant Otto Schmidt recorded in his diary, "Today I counted. At one meal, I received more meat than my mother's ration for an entire month. I thought of her standing in line for bread in Berlin, and I could not eat. But most did eat, and most noticed what happened to leftovers thrown away. Perfectly good food discarded. To men from a nation where every potato was precious, this casual abundance was more disturbing than any propaganda film could be." By spring of 1944, over 200,000 German POWs were working in American agriculture and light industry, solving a labor shortage while earning 80 cents per day in camp currency. The work wasn't the point. The exposure was. In Louisiana, POWs worked at the Higgins Boat Factory, building the landing craft that would carry troops to Normandy. They witnessed the production numbers firsthand. Thousands of boats assembled faster than German factories could produce trucks. Some realized, with growing horror, that they were helping build the instruments of their own nation's defeat. In the Midwest, agricultural workers saw American farming techniques that seemed impossible. One tractor doing the work of 20 men. Hybrid seeds producing yields double what German farms achieved. Mechanized harvesters that could clear fields in hours, not days. But it wasn't just technology. It was prosperity flowing downward. The farmers employing them, ordinary Americans, not elites, owned their land, drove their own vehicles, sent their children to free schools. The oppressed masses of capitalism that Marxist-influenced Nazi propaganda described simply didn't exist. Werner Krauss, now working on a Texas cotton farm, wrote, "I have seen the enemy. He is comfortable, well-fed, educated, and free. Everything we were told was a lie." Not everyone accepted this. In many camps, hardline Nazis maintained secret hierarchies, intimidating those who showed signs of ideological wavering. Prisoners who spoke positively about America risked beatings. Some maintained Hitler salutes and sang Nazi anthems. The transformation wasn't universal, but it was spreading. Then came the day that shattered everything left of the Nazi worldview. On April 29, 1945, American troops liberated Dachau concentration camp. Within weeks, footage from Buchenwald, Bergen-Belsen, and other camps reached POW facilities. Camp commanders, following re-education program protocols, made attendance mandatory. The lights dimmed in the recreation hall at Campion, Texas. The projector flickered to life. What followed were 40 minutes of undeniable horror. The skeletal bodies stacked like cordwood. The gas chambers. The crematory still warm. Survivors who looked like walking corpses. American soldiers, hardened combat veterans, visibly weeping on camera. Many prisoners insisted it was Allied propaganda at first. Then came the German footage captured from SS records. The meticulous Nazi documentation of their own atrocities. Otto Schmidt would later recall, "I watched a guard at Buchenwald shoot a child, for sport, and I realized I fought for this, I served this. Everything I believed, everything I killed for, was in service to this." Some prisoners vomited. Others wept. Many sat in stunned silence. A few stood and walked out, refusing to believe, but their faces showed doubt, not conviction. The camp newspaper, Fort Eustis, previously full of subtle Nazi sympathizing, published an editorial days later, "We were told we fought for Germany. We now know we fought for evil. There is no redemption, only the hope that we can help ensure this never happens again." The ideological collapse was complete. But what would replace it? American planners had prepared for all this moment. The Special Projects Division, formed in 1944, launched a systematic re-education program. Not propaganda education. Libraries opened in camps, stocked with books bound by the Nazis' political philosophy, uncensored history, democratic theory. Lectures began, often delivered by German Jewish refugees who'd fled Hitler. Imagine former SS officers listening to the very people they'd been taught to despise, calmly explaining why democracy worked and tyranny didn't. American films became a weapon of soft power. The grapes of wrath showed a nation unafraid to examine its own failures. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington demonstrated democratic ideals in action. Even entertainment films revealed a society built on individualism, opportunity, and surprisingly to the POWs, genuine social mobility. One unexpected lesson came from the Italian POWs. After Italy switched sides in 1943, the Italian prisoners who pledged loyalty to the Allies received significantly better treatment, better work assignments, more freedom, even weekend passes to nearby towns. They worked alongside the Americans, ate in diners, attended church services. For German POWs still cling to Nazi racial theory, this was devastating. The inferior Italians were being treated as equals. The implication was clear: ideology mattered more than ethnicity. Actions mattered more than race. Christmas 1944 delivered another blow to Nazi psychology. Across America, communities adopted POW camps. Packages arrived filled with small gifts, cigarettes, candy, warm socks, books. Church groups held services at camps, inviting prisoners to attend. Some American families invited POWs to Christmas dinner, enemy soldiers sitting at the American tables sharing meals. This wasn't weakness. It was something Nazi ideology had no framework for. Genuine kindness extended to enemies. The cognitive dissonance was overwhelming. When repatriation began in late 1945, America didn't simply send the POWs home. The final phase of re-education focused on practical skills for rebuilding a democratic Germany. Camps transformed into vocational schools. Carpentry, masonry, electrical work, mechanical engineering, skills needed to rebuild bombed cities were taught intensively. Agricultural programs introduced modern farming techniques. Business courses explained market, economics, and democratic governance. The message was clear: you're not just returning as former enemies, you're returning as builders of something new. By mid-Minus 1946, the last German POWs boarded ships for home. They left behind a country that had fed them, housed them, educated them, and perhaps most importantly shown them a working alternative to the totalitarian nightmare they'd served. Chapter 8: The Architects of Democracy Legacy. The impact was measurable. Studies conducted in the 1950s found that returned POWs were significantly more likely to vote in democratic elections, join democratic political parties, oppose neo-Nazi movements, support the Marshall Plan, encourage German-American reconciliation. Many became civil servants, teachers, journalists, the infrastructure of German democracy. They'd witnessed a working model of prosperity built on freedom, and they brought that vision home. At a reunion in 1985, a former Wehrmacht officer, now a West German mayor, stood before his fellow ex-POWs. We left Germany as soldiers of a lie. We returned as witnesses to a truth. America did not defeat us with bombs alone, though those were effective. Nervous laughter. America defeated us by being exactly what we were told it wasn't: prosperous, just, and strong. They treated us better than our own government treated us. They showed us that strength doesn't require cruelty, that prosperity doesn't require conquest, that a nation can be powerful without being evil. We came home broken, but we helped build something better from the ruins, and we did so because we'd seen with our own eyes that another way was possible. Over 370,000 German prisoners of war passed through American camps between 1943 and 1946. The program cost approximately $500 million, $8 billion in today's money. That investment paid for the Marshall Plan's success. One former POWs returned home praising American generosity and efficiency. It created a receptive audience for reconstruction aid. The same men who'd fought for Hitler became advocates for democracy. Military historians often ask what wins wars: superior firepower, better strategy, economic might. The German POW program suggests another answer. The most powerful weapon isn't physical at all. It's the ability to transform enemies into allies by demonstrating undeniably, unavoidably, that your system simply works better. The lights of American cities, visible from prison trains at 2 a.m., did more to defeat Nazi ideology than 1,000 propaganda films. Sometimes the truth is enough.